Like we always do about this time.
Welcome to the State of the City podcast. This episode is brought to you by Maximus Law Offices, maximizing your benefits on all your personal injuries. I'm your host, Andre Hubcity Dre Spicer, City Councilman, District 2.
What's going on, y'all? Denzel Perry, Area A, Compton School Board member. Dope to be back, man. It's been, second show. Ready to go?
Man. This is episode 1 now. This is officially episode 1.
This is officially episode 1.
We did our pilot.
Yes.
We got a chance to look back at it, see the things that we didn't like.
Got some good feedback, though. Instagram been blowing up.
It's been going all right, man.
But it's been dope to see how the community's been asking for electeds to be a lot more transparent. So they're excited about it.
I like that.
They're excited
about
it,
man. They also told me about how tight you was in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
So it's like, yo, Denzel got to relax.
Look,
you said that about yourself,
look,
though.
I'm in a jean jacket this time.
Yeah,
We good. We got some style.
So, man. But look, let's get into some community updates real quick, ladies and gentlemen. I started off on the city side.
Yeah.
We just did our first budget hearing last Tuesday. We're prepared to submit our budget for fiscal year 24-25, and it was interesting because this is the first budget that I saw presented to the residents, and we gave the residents a chance to respond, and they did not have much to respond to. I was like waiting to see who was going to come up, and the people that came up kind of just came up to give praises to the city manager for presenting such a sound and professional budget. So shout out to the city accountant for producing a nice sound budget for 2024-25. I'm excited about that.
Absolutely.
And in that budget, the biggest thing I'm probably more excited about is that there's $1 million budget for Lueders Park upgrades. So
okay,
we got $1 million to play with over at Lueders Park, man. And I say play with lightly, obviously.
Yeah.
But we have some upgrades to do, and there's a lot of upgrades to be done. I get some heat from my Lueders Park people that's like, yo, man, Wilson Park is looking dope. Like, Wilson Park is looking right. What's up, man? You didn't forget about us over here. And no, bro, we have $1 million to spend in this next fiscal year, so expect plenty of upgrades over there at Lueders Park.
All right.
What you got?
So we got the LCAP, which is local control accountability plan. So that's similar to our budget for particularly categorical funds that is actually in the process of being reviewed and approved in the month of June. So super dope opportunity. This is really us setting out our goals as a school district, what we're focused on in our next fiscal year, 24-25, what programs we're going to be investing in to make sure that we close that opportunity gap for our students. So it's just a really amazing process that, we bring the community in, we survey parents, we survey the students, we survey educators to make sure that we have the best package that we're actually voting on would have voted on yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of similar to like a budget.
Yeah.
Like in
absolutely.
a sense.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
what would be the difference between LCAP and the budget?
Yeah. So LCAP informs our budget, right? So the LCAP really is going to be that it's particularly focused on programming centered around our goals. So like one of our goals is centered around STEAM, right? Mm-hmm. So we've been making huge investments in the city of Compton, focused on science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Dope.
And so we've been seeing a close of the opportunity gap even amongst our students. And even when we compare ourselves to local districts, like really improving what we're doing in math, what we're doing in reading, what we're doing across the board, and improving those opportunities for our students. And we're constantly seeing this point increase that we're looking forward to. But it's really set outside in those goals that we identified in the LCAP and how we're focused on putting our money where our mouth is, pretty much. So we say, this is our goal. We want to do X, Y, and Z.
Right. And
now the investment of dollars goes right alongside that.
Dope, man. Okay,
yeah.
Nice. Also the city, we I know we have a huge graffiti issue.
Yeah.
We've been figuring out ways to address that graffiti issue. And just a little background on that. Some businesses, because people ask, why don't you guys get on the businesses for allowing people to come and spray paint on the building and put tagging on their building. And we have gone out to those businesses and find them.
Yeah.
But I found that to be a little unfair because it's not like they're asking for people to tag on their walls.
Absolutely.
One, and then two, some of these business owners have been threatened that they can't cover up said tag because of whatever reason.
Yeah.
So what the city has done, we've budgeted a significant amount of money for anti-graffiti paint.
Okay.
So we're going to be painting the city buildings and then the businesses with this anti-graffiti paint, which allows you to just use a water hose to wash off the tagging. So it doesn't stop the tagging, but it gives us a chance to address the tagging where it's not costing the businesses, the residents, and we can actually clean up the city at the same time. So that should be taking effect early this summer, man. So,
And the long-term impact that's going to have as well, too, because when you think about it, how much we're spending on washing, painting over graffiti, and at the end of the day, then you see our cities around, our buildings around Compton have these patched up paint jobs because they're trying to block up the graffiti that's on their walls. So easy to be able to make that investment, larger investment now, be able to have an easy solution for businesses as well as the city, and it just solve all those problems up front.
Yeah, and it's a test run. We're going to test it out, make sure everything works out. Granted, it does, and we'll be passing those that same method to the homes that are getting homes and apartments that are also getting the same issue with graffiti.
Absolutely.
So, and then a lot of people don't realize that graffiti is a public safety issue.
Yeah.
Because in areas like Compton, Watts, Long Beach, South Central, tagging tends to mark territory or send a message, and then there's a retaliation for that message, or there's a response to that message, which kind of turns violent sometimes. So it's important that we address the graffiti issues as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I wanted to show a video. I saw a video of the Centennial High School, the new Centennial.
Yes, the new Centennial High School. Yeah.
So
are in progress in building Centennial High School, but we want to make sure that the community is involved in the process with us, right? So as we get more updates and as we're making decisions on the school board as far as the progression of that activity of rebuilding that school site, we want to make sure that we also keeping the community involved as well, because it's your tax dollars that's paying for it, right? So we want to make sure that you feel involved in that process. So we just posted earlier this year some pictures of the new Centennial High School. The design for it is going to look amazing. It really looks like a college campus. And so as we're excited about Compton High opening up, we're also excited about Centennial getting the later foundation work to have a rebuild on that school.
So since Compton will be open fall of 25.
Fall of 25.
And then we'll be breaking ground on Centennial soon thereafter.
I'll say soon thereafter. I'll say to start making the plans to be able to transition those students to make sure that we set it up for success. So I'll say the actual full-on labor work of Centennial will start after Compton High opens up.
Now, quick question. Now, I know that last bond was for the rebuild of Centennial and Dominguez and a few other schools.
Yeah.
Is there a design for Dominguez yet? Has there been a design put in place?
Not yet for Dominguez. So right now, Dominguez, our primary concern is making sure that we get the cafeteria rebuilt. So we've been focusing on doing the plans for the new cafeteria that will be at Dominguez High School.
Okay.
But Dominguez will be after Centennial. So we're just making sure that we're ensuring that we're making sure that we're taking into account the timelines to be able to build those schools, but also still service our students at the same time.
Bet. All right, man. Well, then we got to set up for the hot topic, man.
Yeah, that's good.
The hot topic this week is men's mental health. It says it's men's mental health.
Men's mental health month, so this is the month of June. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, bet. And so what's our topic tonight?
So our topic today is around men's mental health, particularly around like addressing stigmas centered around mental health in our communities. Like we all grew up in communities in a sense where we hear so much as men that men don't cry, men don't show emotion, men don't do these things. Yeah. But psychologically, how much of an impact it's making on our kids' lives to grow up in that type of mental health stigma, right? Yeah. And so I think it's important if we can teach people early on how to address mental health, how to live in vulnerability, we can address things a lot smoother.
This is going to be an interesting conversation, man. We have a therapist coming through, man, by the name of Veronica Clanton Higgins.
Yep.
She'll be here shortly. And I thought it was only proper that we brought in someone that's 100%. In the mental health field and from our community so they can understand us from that standpoint. So we'll be right back with that topic. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, we are here at State of the City podcast. Hub City Dre, Councilman Spicer, Denzel Perry, Compton Unified School District trustee. I was gonna say CSUD. I was gonna, wasn't gonna work out for me in my mind though. And then we have mental health therapist, friend of the Hub Radio family to me, and
To us.
To us. Okay,
You
to
know,
us.
I'm
To
just
us.
curious now.
And we have Ms. Veronica Clanton Higgins in the building. Thank you for being here, V.
All right, thank you all for having me.
This is Black Men's Mental, what is it? Mental Health.
Men's Mental Health
Health
Month.
Month,
Yes.
Mental Health Month. That's a lot of M's. It's kind of messes me up. Men's Mental
M
Health
to the
Month.
third power.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we just want to talk about mental health. I thought that it was important for us to have someone that's in the field of mental health therapy, and that can actually kind of like add some significant value to the conversation.
Yeah.
I think that. So I mean, if you want to start this thing off, man, like
Yeah.
men's and mental health. This is like really your passion. This is something that's important to you. Talk to me.
Yeah, this is definitely something that I'm passionate about from a personal standpoint, just from my own battle with mental health, growing up and actively battling depression and anxiety, but also growing up in a community and a culture in which, you constantly hear things such as men don't cry, men don't show emotion, keep your head up, and it's just kind of, we don't check in on men enough, even though a lot of times there was this picture on Instagram a while back that had like all the things that a man carry on a day-to-day basis, like being the weight on the world, but then you're expected to still show up and represent a certain way, right? And hold yourself a certain way. So I think it's just important for us to always take a pause, especially in a month like this where it's Men's Mental Health Month, and just address mental health and mental health solutions, stigmas, things of that nature, but then also offer some resources and solutions for our community as well too. I think on a community perspective, we're trying to do more, and Compton Unified is committed to doing more by opening up wellness centers at a majority of our school sites, which we're hoping to get to 100% of our school sites in the coming months. But it's just, we got to do more. And I'm excited that you're here today because I check out everything that you post, everything that you do. And it's super exciting just to see the work that you do in the community of Compton, but also just all over the place as well, too.
I appreciate that. I love a little bit of validation because this is a thankless job
It is,
sometimes
yeah.
because we can't have our clients post testimonials because that's a HIPAA violation. But no, I'm grateful to be here and to support anything you both are doing in the community. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, man. It only makes sense to have you here.
Facts. As our first guest, too.
Yeah, that's the first guest
Yeah.
on the first episode.
Yeah.
I'm breaking it in. Come on, y'all.
So I've always said that our community has what I consider compound trauma.
Yeah.
We've gone through, and not just our community, but communities like ours. We've gone through trauma every day, be it street takeovers, be it human trafficking, be it bullying, be it Compton politics, sheriff, be it guns and violence and drugs.
Absolutely.
And these are the things that we've experienced every day for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And it's taken a toll on us mentally in ways. And I think what our community is bad with is communication and addressing these traumas.
Right.
Like Denzel touched on earlier, like for men, we're taught to, you just deal with it. You don't complain about it. You don't get to whine about it. You don't get to cry about it. And if you do, that's used against you. And it's used against you with your family, with your loved ones, with your spouses, with the streets, with your rivals, with just, social media. And it's been hard to find a medium, a mid-ground for men to say, hey, man, where's a space where, how do I deal with this?
Yeah.
How do I address this? How do I even start to deal? Because it affects us. Our environment affects us in more ways than we even realize.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
It dictates how we see the world.
Yeah, it dictates your perception. And that's one of the reasons when I was growing up in Compton, I grew up in Compton. I am 47 years old. I'm proud to be 47. A lot of people don't make it to certain ages, right? But I grew up in Compton in the 80s, and I'm a 70s baby, grew up in the 80s, and what I saw and experienced, it carried with me, right? I come from a family of gang members. What said don't matter, but I've seen it all. And when I was growing up, seeing drive-bys, I see children impacted by their parents being incarcerated on drugs, because that's when crack started popping. We had crack, then NWA, DJ Quick and them started popping out. So we had they were sharing the experiences from their perspective. But then we have to look at my generation and then the generation after me, the millennials, right? Which is y'all. But when we're looking at that, the way it was passed down. And so I love the way you prefaced it, because trauma does not leave you.
Yeah.
It is an intergenerational thing. It really impacts the way your children, even future children, will experience things as well, because it becomes embedded and changes our genetic makeup, right? And so that's why historically you'll see Black folks more prone to high blood pressure and things of that nature, because it is passed down. And when we're looking at communities such as Compton, which is why I've always been a big advocate of healing the hood. And the reason why I say healing the hood, people run from communities like ours. We don't see very many therapists or private practices in the hub, right? A lot of people want to go where the money is or where they feel like it could be easier. No disrespect if this does not apply to you, but it does apply to you. But what we're looking at are how does it show up? And this is a thing called social learning theory, where we look at our environment shapes the way that we behave, right? And so if you come from a family where when boys cry, they get a whooping, right? Or they're called names like you little punk, don't act like that, man up. Or you see a mother that's always screaming at her children, or a father that is disassociated or disconnected from the family itself, right? That starts to be passed down. And even when we're looking at trauma in the environment, and one of the reasons why I started the Compton Wellness Collective was to address this on a larger scale, because I was doing the work myself, but it's so much work I couldn't do it by myself. And so I teach this class called Trauma in the Classroom, and what it looks like, because a lot of children are being diagnosed with ADHD, but they really were suffering from PTSD, right? Because it impacts the nervous system.
That's wild. So wait, they were treated for
diagnosed
for
ADHD, but not realizing that ADHD and PTSD look the same in children. And there's some different markers there.
Right.
You ever seen like a Venn diagram? It shows the differences, but what's the same in the middle, right? And so a lot of times people were diagnosed with children with ADHD. Things probably were not working out because you're treating the wrong thing. So we have to look at how children become emotionally numb from killings and drive. Oh, it's just another such got shot, right? Yeah. How that impacts their nervous system. When we are stressed, our nervous system lets us know, right? We might feel a little on edge, can't sleep. Our stomach might be upset, right? But we have the words to articulate, hey, I'm not feeling well. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I might be stressed or whatever. But a child does not have those words. And so what we see is this behavior starts to overflow into the community. We have hypervigilance, right? We have the inability to communicate because your amygdala is the alarm center of the brain. So the amygdala is supposed to be like this big, but if you've been exposed to significant trauma and things of that nature, it gets a little bit bigger. We call it the alarm system of the brain. So it kind of like goes off, it's like lets your body know you in danger, girl. So if it is, and I'm trying to find the right analogy. You ever been in a house and every time a car drive by a certain car, the alarm goes off?
Yeah.
Yep.
So imagine that is your body. So imagine every time something happens, your alarm goes off. So every time you hear something or see something, so now you're stuck, right? So that's what it's like. So that is why when you are exposed to multiple traumatic experiences, You see people walking around, always looking behind them. They cannot hear you when you're having conversations because their mind, that alarm is going off. They're trying to see if you're safe, if that makes sense. So yeah, your body, your brain experiences those things.
And we pass that on to our children, or and it's crazy because now I'm thinking about some of the things that I do on a daily basis that are just natural to me, that was taught to me, like never sitting with your back towards the door.
Yeah.
That's not like. The reason why we do that is because we're worried about if someone's coming in.
Right.
Like that's a trauma.
That's a trauma response. Yeah.
And I cannot sit with my back to the door.
Same.
I have to see what's happening at the door. And it's not. It was taught to me, but it was taught to me out of trauma, out of an experience. And I think there's so many different examples of something like that we probably do pass on, just based off of our own experiences.
It's interesting. I did my thesis when I was graduating school on PTSD in communities of color. And there's a book by the name of PTSS, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, by Dr. Joy DeGruy.
I love her.
Yeah, I love her. Her talks is amazing. But even just the concept of that we're still carrying on trauma from slavery that's still showing up in our lives every single day.
Absolutely.
And how that's been passed down from generation to generation.
Right.
And even if you think about today, I was given an example one time that even if I'm driving a car and a cop gets behind me and I start getting nervous, I start sitting up, like my whole body and demeanor changes.
Right, it's a response.
It's a response.
Right.
And even though I may not get pulled over, I got my insurance, my registration, my driver's license, whatever it is that I need, I have it on me right there in that moment.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, I'm thinking about how many times does a traffic stop go the wrong way.
Absolutely.
And how many times we've seen on the news and on the TV shows and just on any form of media
Right.
about a traffic stop turning the wrong way. And
Right.
it's someone that looks like me behind the driver's seat.
And that's that unconscious, I'll call it unconscious seed planting,
Yeah.
because a lot of times we pick up things from what we see and from what we experience. Right.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you brought up slavery. I do workshops on, we do healing circles and things of that nature. And the one we just did was called Healing Shame. So we did a Healing Shame Sister Circle. And we're talking about how things get passed on through generations, through family dynamics and things of that nature. And so I always say if you could pass down trauma, you could pass down healing. And so we were looking at how when slaves were in the field, right, they were hung, right? And as a therapist, I use a lot of somatic techniques for people. So somatic means using your body and your senses and things, because it's more practical. It's easier for you to do no matter where you are. And so one of the things that I love to do is vagus nerve exercises, because the vagus nerve, it is a nerve that runs down your back, the cranial, your spine, and all of that, right? But it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes relaxation. And so one of the things that I do with clients, I always preface, it might feel weird, but humming. So this takes us back to the slavery.
Yeah.
When they were humming in the fields, that is common. When you go, and that's why even in church, what do? They sing hymns, right? Because the activation of that, it really puts you in a state of relaxation and helps to reduce any present anxious state that you're in. And so we as Black folk, or even communities of color, we are doing things that we did not know were calming, but it is. Even rocking, right? When you're rocking, that helps to calm you down. Or even when, I always laugh, I said twerking is for mental health, but it releases. You ever seen tribes in Africa and the women are where they're usually dancing from their hips, right? We love to dance as a culture, right? That is healing. Laughter is healing. And so you know how they say Black folks can't take nothing serious, but have you noticed that when something is traumatic or something, we make jokes about it?
Yeah.
Right? We're trying to find a way to cope and manage, and it helps us to actually feel grounded.
Can we talk about some more coping strategies? What are some effective strategies for managing stress and anxiety?
So stress and anxiety, or even depression. I try to encourage you to do behavior activation. Everybody is different. So behavior activation, like the things I just mentioned, are activities that you can do to help you feel safe, help you feel grounded, right? Coloring. People don't think coloring is actually a great strategy because it falls under the mindfulness, right? It is a mindfulness strategy. Painting, if you like to paint. I always tell people movement. So if you like to dance, right? Or conversation, if you like to laugh or need someone to talk to. Also, anything tactile. So usually in my office, I keep like the little squishy balls or fidget toys, right? Because it helps people when they start to feel anxious or start to feel nervous to have something in their hand that they could squeeze or manipulate, right? Or even if you just sit. And so one thing I really work with people on is deep breathing and being present, right? And so when you're being present and you're focused on the moment, a lot of time people think meditation is clearing your head, right? And it's like, I can't clear my mind. I hear him back that thing up. But no, usually I tell people it's a state of being present in the moment. You don't have to clear your mind. Just focus on what's in the moment. So if you have a fan, let's say it was a fan on, right? And you're like, I want to just ground myself. I want to calm. I always tell people, close your eyes and remind yourself, relax your nose, relax your eyes, relax your cheeks, drop your shoulders, wiggle your toes, fingers, all of that. And you take a deep breath in and always breathe through your nose like you're smelling flowers. Hold it, count to 4, exhale out like you're blowing out the candles, and focus on a sound in the room. And so if you have a fan, you ever hear a fan like white noise?
Yep.
Focus on the fan. So don't try to be present. Focus on that fan. If you hear sirens, focus on the sirens. If there's children outside playing, close your eyes. Just focus on the kids outside playing, right? You just want to figure out how to bring yourself back to the moment because it helps to ground you when you start to feel overwhelmed, when you start to feel anxious. I just like to blurt out things, or I like to deep breathe, or go, right? And that helps me as well. Or I do things like if I'm in something, I do this, because that helps me as well, like a pressure point. I teach people how to do EFT tapping, where you set up a statement and then you start to tap your pressure point. So you tap in, right? Or I teach people how to do the butterfly taps while they're breathing. So different things. So it depends on the person, the situation, and what they respond to.
As a man, I don't think I would probably want to do the butterfly joint. It kind of feels weird.
See? But let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's talk
It could
about
be,
that.
yeah. Let's.
Yes. So since it is Men's Mental Health Month,
Thank you.
and you both are black men, right? I want you to let go of that notion that you can't do something for your wellness. Okay? Butterfly taps is just because it's like butterfly wings. You are a human being having a human experience. And if you need to do certain things to make yourself feel centered, feel calm, it should not be gender specific. Okay? Because we're looking at, and I'm glad that you said that, because this is a perfect segue into black men or brown men, mental health, and the stigma and barriers to treatment, right? A lot of times the stigma is, I'm good. I could just go talk to the homies, go to the gym, thug it out, right? But you're still a human being, right? And men don't have safe spaces.
No.
And I'm just gonna be honest about that. Men don't have safe spaces where they could be vulnerable and still feel themselves. Because a lot of times vulnerability is equated to like the feminine aspect of thing, but it's a human thing that is needed for healing, right? You have vulnerability when you have an intercourse because you gotta trust this person. Right? But why can't you have that for your wellness? And so when we're looking at men and mental health and the barriers to it, one of the barriers that I've noticed is vulnerability and safe spaces to not be judged if you cry, right? If let's say one of you cried in front of me, right? I would not make you feel like, you should not cry in front of me. I will actually hold the space for you and honor it, because I feel like you must feel safe in order to do that. And a lot of men don't feel safe for societal reasons, gender norms, all these different things. That is the barrier to your healing, right? And also being mindful, everything ain't for everybody. Everybody's not your safe space.
Right.
And
right.
I think that's another thing that men, I encourage you all to find your safe spaces, because sometimes your safe spaces can be a person, it could be your counselor, right? It could be anybody, but figure out who your safe space is, because that's your support system. Yeah. So when we're looking at our community and the trauma and grief that happens here, right? People go away and are incarcerated, things happen in jail, right? Or they watch their homies get shot on the block, right? And no one gives them the space to process that, right? And I think that is what, when I say healing the hood, that's the healing that I'm talking about. Your homie got shot. Like, bro, you don't have to thug it out. That was your dog. That was your ace. Yeah. You will have to get up tomorrow and won't be able to call that fool and be like, hey, let's go make it. You won't. Mm-hmm. Your life has literally changed. And instead of addressing that hurt and that pain, because you don't have a safe space, you're drinking more. You're having sex with more people. You are more angry, right? You start to isolate. You start to do what I call unsafe behaviors, like reckless, impulsive behaviors, right? Because there is some emerging research that sometimes when people do certain things, that is their version of self-harm, right? Reckless behavior, because they may not want to unalive themselves, but they put themselves in position to be unalived.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Suicide by a cop.
Yes. Suicide by going into the wrong hood.
Yeah.
How they catch homeboy slipping like that? Why was he over there? Yeah. Right? And so when we're looking at addressing the barriers and the stigma, it starts with, remember I was talking about social learning theory? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is the moment. This is a wraparound moment. It starts with being the examples of it.
I think one of the interesting things that I think we do a lot in especially communities like Compton, we normalize things that shouldn't be normal. And I don't think I realized that until I got to college when I went away from Compton, only 30 minutes away down in Irvine. But I got in this mindset like, oh, all of this is normal until I got there and I realized no one else experienced the same things. And it took, like, in our orientation, we were doing that crossing the line activity. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking around, I'm like, I can't be the only one, right?
Right.
But I think we normalize a lot of different things just by our experiences as we grow up. Because when I think back to, even let's say my K-12 education, out of my 5 best friends, 3 of them didn't make it to our high school graduation, right? And so it opened up my eyes to when I got to college, I'm like, well, it's just normal. It's something that we should accept. It's something that we're going through, or everyone goes through it. But that's a lot of, because we're kind of operating sometimes in a bubble of our own communities, that just because all of us have the same experiences or similar experiences, rather, we assume that the whole world also looks like that too. Any thoughts there?
And just to add to that, I mean, what the sad part about that is, I think that everybody in our community has had that experience before they've gotten to college.
100%.
Right.
They've had that experience of losing a friend or a relative in a traumatic way. Mm-hmm. And it does seem like, this is just how things go. Like, your kid at 15, I mean, it sucks that they have to experience their friend tragically dying.
Right. Right. And it is, and it's also when we're looking at, my husband is from Bellflower. So there's a lot of things that was normalized for me that was not normal for him. Mm-hmm. And he be like, Queen, that no. Because I grew up in such a environment, and even like with, when me losing Xavier, right, I felt bad for Hassan. Because I'm like, this should not be your experience, right? And even when, it started when my husband's from Bellflower, but he teaches here in Compton. And And this is where he was losing students. And no one was addressing the fact that these teachers
Our experiencing.
are on a large scale.
Yeah.
Like they're losing. I remember during COVID, my husband lost a student, and I could see it in him because he said, "Oh, he just didn't show up to class one day."
Yeah.
And then he found out through the counselor and the principal that the child had passed away, and you could see it kind of hit him because he was at the point where, dang, I keep losing students. Now, wellness centers, could they have one at the 10? Because I went and did their mental health fair. But what about the teachers and the staff and space for them? Because they're losing students. They built bonds with students. Especially in the high school, if you watch a student from 9th grade and then they get murdered in 12th grade, when Xavier passed away, that impacted the school. Because everybody knew Xavier. Right? He was there from 9th grade to 12th grade. And they always remember him, the kid with the guitar, because he thought he was Prince. But my thing is the impact it had. I never forget that one of the teachers, he just didn't come back to work. I think he was just over losing students. And he just went away for a while. He contacted us earlier this year to check on us. But then I'm like, it impacts people. Like, it may be normal for us to lose homies, right? And stuff like that. But when we're looking at people with different types of relationships with people, educators, maybe when you're mentoring somebody, right? It hits different.
100%.
Right? And I think it should not be normalized, but it is our norm. Right? But what do we do to manage and make it through it? Right? Because we're in the hood. Compton is a suburb. But there's some hood-ish that goes on, right? What do we do in the meantime to address the needs of the individuals who are managing or coping or trying to thrive in these spaces? So when we're looking at even men's mental health, how do we go into the hoods, a whole space for them, right? It may look different, right?
It should.
It may
as
look
everything
different.
else does.
Right. It might be easier for me to go in than it might be for you all, right? Just feminine qualities, right? But how do we go into, because that is my ultimate goal, is to go into the hoods and hold these spaces, just to have conversations, because sometimes people just want somebody to listen.
Yeah. Or someone, it's interesting. I follow on Instagram this, and it actually goes into the later question, but I think it's called Express Yourself Black Man. Like, it's an Instagram page. But it often posts things like, how to check in on your bros. Like, and it's something as simple as like, you good, bro? Like, just was thinking about you, right? That goes a long way.
Right.
And just like kind of bringing those types of things that we can start incorporating in our daily lives, just to check in and just say, hey man, are you good? If you're not, like, it's okay. Like,
Right.
Let's create this space.
Right.
How do you feel like social media is having an impact on someone's mental health, both positively and negatively?
Social media, I love it. So with social media, it can be a good and a bad thing. Number one, people curate their timelines based on the algorithm, and if you're following certain things, it can impact your mental health, right? Like, I try to stay away from anything that I feel is going to traumatize me, right? So I always tell people, curate your social media for the experience that you want. If you want a healing experience, follow pages that promote those things. Follow people that promote those things. If you feel like you're being overwhelmed, because I am a therapist at a university, and I have these conversations all the time with these students. Because number one, social media can impact your healing, but it can also impact your perception of yourself, which in turn impacts the way you move in society. So curate your social media to be an experience. That's what it is. It's an experience. And so don't follow a lot of pages that you feel promote division, right? Like, oh, black women don't do this or black men don't do this. Steer away from those type of conversations and pages, right? If you start to feel activated. And so when I say activated, that's just another word for triggered, right? Like if you start to feel like your heart is racing, maybe your palms start to get sweaty, or you find that you just disassociated and you've been scrolling for like an hour or two, take a break.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to uninstall the app, but you're just going to reinstall it. Train yourself to give yourself pockets of time on social media, because you start to numb yourself with too much social media. And I think if you're going to use it, use it. Use it to your advantage, right? It becomes a disadvantage if it impacts the way that you manage your emotions, the way that you see yourself, if it impacts your ability to go to sleep, because now you have all these images running through your head. So curate it for the experience that you want.
That's right.
We got I have one more question before we let you go, because we can't hold you forever.
I can talk all day long.
Yeah, no.
We're gonna have to go part 2 of this conversation.
No, seriously,
for real.
because mental health, those conversations can be long, and because there's so many things to talk about and there's so many layers when we're talking about in our community. But just on the surface level, how can we understand the difference between mental health and mental illness?
So mental health is what you do every day just to stay grounded, to stay centered, and just make sure you're well. Now, mental health concern or mental illness, that's when you look at its impact to your ability to function. So when individuals come in and I do like our screening assessment, which is just a psychosocial assessment to look at how things are impacting them and helps me come up with a diagnosis. We'll get to that stuff later. But we look at the impact to your ability to function, right? So we look at the duration, the frequency, the intensity, and the onset, right? So let's say, for instance, you might drink every Saturday, right? Maybe one drink. That's not a concern, right? But if every time you feel sad or overwhelmed and you go and have a drink and it's 3 drinks and now you're missing work, right? Or you can't go to sleep, or you're forgetting to eat. Now it's impacting your ability to function, right? And I think that is what we have to understand is a lot of people don't go to therapy because they're scared of what might happen. I always tell my clients, the goal is for you not to need me. The goal is for you to do the work so you can understand that you don't need me and come back if you need a checkup, right? And so we want to look at, is it impacting your ability to function? Is it impacting your ability to go to work? Is it impacting your ability to go to school? Is it impacting relationships, right? If you find yourself arguing with people all the time, you're like, everybody tripping, are they? Because the common denominator seems to be you, right? So we're looking at your impact your ability to function, relationships, and things of that nature. That is where we might want to look into maybe going to a counselor, therapist, counselor, psychotherapist, they're all the same thing. To just get a assessment, see what's going on, and see how they can support you.
I appreciate that answer. We definitely thank you for coming through. It means a lot to even have this conversation with you, and you being the first guest on our show. You know what I'm saying? So now it's official.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm proud of y'all.
Definitely. The same sentiments. We appreciate you for being here as well, and just sharing such information that our community needs to know and need to be aware of.
Yes.
It is Men's Mental Health Month, y'all, so make sure y'all get out there, do some self-care, but also just not, be okay with being not okay, right? Like, if something's bothering you, if something's going on, tap into resources. We're going to put a few up on the screen as well, too.
As a matter of fact, that's what we're going to insert right here, a bunch of resources, read over them, and 100%. See which ones you need and take advantage immediately.
Yes.
Cool. And check on your bros. You good, bro?
Things I can talk about.
I got you.
Appreciate it. No, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more State of the City podcast.
Cool.
The world, but it's a representation of me. And when I walk out in these cities and these countries, I could be proud and say, this is where I'm from. I still believe in Compton. Compton always been the future for me. I think we breed some of the most incredible individuals, creators, intellectuals, talent. We had it since day one. That's why I always screamed this city. I've traveled the world. There's no place like this one right here. No place. And
Mustard on the beat, ho, Debo, any rap nigga, he a freak throw, man down, call like ambulance, Tell him breathe, bro. Nail a nigga to the cross, he walk around like Tizo. What's up with these jabroni ass niggas trying to see Compton? The industry can hate me, fuck them all and they mama. How many options you really got? I mean, it's too many options. I'm finna pass on this body, I'm John Stockton. Beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching. Sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that up to score with him. Walk him down whole time, I know he got some hoe in him. Pull on him, extort shit, bully the flow on him. Say Drake, I hear you.
It's not a game. Hub Radio, you're in Elder Business back down the one and only 20 Compton. We here. Kids more, they know like that. It's crazy up some. I'm gonna lie to you. It's going nuts. Because history to making. On God.
We dealing with the same struggles. And I'm putting that in music and letting them know through music that, hey, you know, the same thing y'all going through, we going through too. So why not get along and tackle these problems together? So
a story that comes from Compton that helped them come back and give back to the city, continue to build up the city to make this place a tourist location. We'd love to see a Kendrick Lamar jazz location. We'd love to see a Dr. Dre skating rink. We'd love to see a DeMar DeRozan basketball camp, Anthony Anderson comedy club. Like, we'd love to see all those things. That makes Compton a tourist location. But it first takes the streets to come together. You know what I'm saying? To make this place a viable location, to make people want to invest in it. Not just the businesses, but the homeowners and families. Got to make people want to come to the community.
Man, we got Randy in the building, man. Cowboys, man. Today's, bro. Man, appreciate I know you had to be out here today.
man, you know, I put up on the horse. They talking about, oh my God, we getting on this in the production. I'm like, bro, this is how we do it. This is Compton, bro. This is going on, bro. We got in the horses. Come on, bro. But you know, like, I love seeing the city outside like this, bro. It really warms my heart. This is like iconic history making stuff happening in real time right now, and I just had to be here, man. So I pulled up on the horse, hopped off. I'm in the crowd. You feel me? We making noise. What's up?
All the rappers and all the people of influence lock in, tap in with each other, and keep it strong and keep it going. I feel like I don't want to say it like this, but money, success, and feeding your family is a way to keep anything united. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's gonna be a lot of revenue, finances made. A lot of people gonna be okay, and he needs to be mayor. I'm gonna tell you why. Every single parade, X, Y, and Z, he tapped in with the heart of Compton, the real ones, the real. Rest in peace, Key Richards and all that. That's how I know Key Richards. Look, check it out. One of the real ones, man. He actually has a great mindset of how this city can make changes and have a brighter future. So make sure you tap in with my boy, please.
They not like us. They not like us. Once upon a time, all of us was in chains. Homie still double down.
Just a reminder, because y'all playing with us. Y'all playing with LA. Y'all acting like we not the Mecca. Like we don't make this culture too. We ain't got nothing to say, but we got something to say. And as you can see, we are growing, we are evolving, we are progressing, and we are coming together because of power in numbers. And you
didn't see the club. Like, what, little baby, help you get your lingo up. What, 21, get your first street cred.
Oh, that's the all right, man. Hub City Dre, Councilman Spicer, District 2 City Council. Can I get everybody's name? Who you got here?
My name is Kaylin. Sally Carey. Sky.
Camille.
And we're fighting those zombies right now. So hopefully it stayed that way.
What area y'all from?
You see our hat?
No doubt. So, yeah, let me get the top 3 hit songs of all time from y'all point of view.
Not like this.
You're going to kill one and you're going to screw one. Right? Kill one, marry one, screw one. You're going to screw.
Kill Drake. Drake. Yeah, that's what we're with you. Okay, so we're going to be the next one. Oh, God. You can't be the next one.
Quick this up. What does that mean?
It has not stopped from COINTELPRO up to this point. So a lot of people try to maintain division when unity comes into the picture. So anytime we see somebody pushing division, we got to snub them out real quick and get back on the train. Every single time, even if they look like us.
Yep.
You gotta be like, brother,
It's legendary. It's definitely legendary, for sure. And I feel like we don't really know because we're in a moment, but we got to find out.
It's pretty rare. It's probably only about, let's say, like 100 people out there right now. So a lot of people didn't even know where it was at, you know what I'm saying? And just this moment in time, I'm pretty sure there's people around the world that would love to be here.
All right, we are back. This is the Community Box. This is brought to you by Maximus Law Offices, maximizing your benefits on your personal injuries. So this is a segment where we have, it's like a suggestion box.
Yep.
We have residents send us in questions, concerns, or even just suggestions.
Yep.
And we've got a few of them, so we're going to go through a couple of them. And we're going to fire them off. Do you want to take yours first, or you want me to take mine first?
We'll go back to back.
All
back
right.
to back.
Well then, let's see. This one for both of us.
I had to clear my throat for that one.
Says, will you guys be hosting candidate interviews?
I think we should.
I think it's only right.
Yeah, I think we should.
Being that, coming from the school board, coming from the city hall, the council, and then us wanting to inform our residents,
absolutely,
our demographic of civically and what's going on, we would definitely be interviewing candidates this upcoming season. So you guys know that there's an election in November. I guess that's why we got that question.
Yeah, and I think even more so, we'll make the invite for candidates, but it's up to them if they want to, utilize this platform.
Right.
Yeah.
True story. Okay. Will Centennial High School be demolished for the rebuild?
Yeah. So Centennial High School will be getting a full rebuild from the ground up. So we, showed some of the pictures, but it's definitely will be built from the ground up. A lot of our schools have aged over the course of time. We have some of the oldest schools in LA County. So it's definitely in our plans as of now. It'll keep some of the existing structure as part of the rebuild. When you look at the pictures, you'll see that like the gym in this design that we've been looking at thus far is actually the existing gym of Centennial High School. So we're trying to see what can we also utilize to kind of give that same historical context there, but also at the same time give a brand new campus look, feel, design, everything in addition to that.
So, but everything is going to be demolished except for the structure of the.
Except for the structure of the gym as of now, and if any other key pieces be added back to it, and then also the football fields as well. That will still remain exactly where it is right now, as of the existing plans right now. So right now we're in a pre-stages of developing those. So these pictures are very premature in the sense that this is our idea and our plan that our architects have kind of gave us as a proposal. And then it's a whole process that go on between now and the before we break ground, finalizing what the final look and feel of the school is going to be.
So I think that's actually pretty dope, man. Yeah. But how much kickback did you guys get from the community for demolishing everything at Compton High School?
I'll say in all transparency, I wasn't here for the initial parts of Compton High School, but of course, being from Compton, growing up in Compton, I've heard the comments that the community say. Of course, there's a lot of historical context when you think of Compton High School, and when you think of then at that time, back in the day, Compton College. And so I think the community truly felt it, but I think also at the same time, I think the perception has changed slightly. With now being able to see the structure and seeing the school being built and the excitement behind that, because it is going to be one of the most state-of-the-art schools in California. But of course, I also understand the concerns of those who went to Compton High. I'm a Don for life, but that went to Compton High and that is a tar babe. That their school, when they step back on that campus again, it's not going to be the school that they attended, that they have memories at, and that those spaces that they walked on, and kind of when you go back to the school and say, I remember when this was here, and I remember when this was here.
Yeah,
they're not going to have those opportunities, right? And I also recognize too, for our high school students currently who go on to other school campuses for football games, basketball games, and competitions, and they're looking like my schools don't have nothing compared to this campus, right? So it's kind of a two-way street. How do we give the most state-of-the-art, spaces, but also addressing that our schools are dilapidated in a lot of different levels.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. This one's for me, man. It says, is there a disconnect with the Compton Fire Department and City Hall? I would get the heavy one, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna sit back for this
one. There has been a disconnect with City Hall and the union, the firefighters union.
Yeah.
I think that there's been different ways of approaching or addressing issues that we just haven't been on the same page. Doesn't mean that the council doesn't support the firefighters, because we do. Obviously we have. The record shows it. We've been able to supply them with everything that they've asked for. So there's not a disconnect with City Hall and firefighters. As we've gotten them the hero pay, the raise, the contracts. We spend over $10 million in apparatuses, trucks, breathing equipment, just various different things over the last 2 years that I've been here. So there's not a issue or a disconnect with, again, City Hall and the firefighters itself. But the relationship between the union and City Hall has been challenging, and something that we can definitely work to better. So that's the best way I can answer that question.
I think to expand on it, though, I think not even just from the City Hall and Compton Fire Department, Compton Fire Union idea, but just kind of the role of government entities in partnership with and the perception of what the conflict could be. Just because we have conflict doesn't mean it's going to be a bad thing, right? Like, I think at the end of the day, we all serve Compton for a reason, right? Whether you're elected official, whether you're working in Compton, whether you're on the fire department, police department, whatever it might be, you chose to work in Compton to serve the community of Compton. And overall, I think we have a vision of what we believe that Compton can be. And the conflict, a lot of times, we have a differences of opinion of how we get there, but we all see that our goal is to get a better Compton, right? So I don't think even when we're thinking about the conflict of City Hall and the fire union, could also just be the mindset around that. I would love to change the perception of the community. It doesn't mean that we have to be on the desk and arguing and fighting 24/7. It's just about, we all have different ways of getting there, but we got to be open to sit in that seat of inquiry and listen to one another.
And you have to have like minds as well, and everybody has to be on that same page, because we're not going to always going to agree, but if we all have the same goals in terms of, like you said, the progression of the city, we should find some mid-ground somewhere. And so that's kind of what we're working towards. History's shown that hasn't always worked that way. So it's a struggle day. I think it's a challenge every day. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think we, in 2024, we're paying for a lot of consequences of bad beef and bad, stuff that happened 20, 30 years ago that, I wasn't even alive for, right? But
me either.
But I think at the end of the day, we're dealing with a lot of circumstances of what Compton was back in the day. And we're answering to a lot of those problems today. And I think the expectation has always been for us to come in and fix it, but we can't fix it, number one, without community support, and number two, without us having a shared vision. But at the end of the day, we got to come to the table.
But again, it hasn't always been that way. It just depends on who you know and
100%,
and who's in office and who likes who, and I think we're trying to do things a little different now.
Absolutely.
So moving on to the next one. This is just a statement. I don't know how we're going to respond to this. It was put in all caps: lower our property taxes. You what?
All right.
I don't even know what to say to that. But I did find another question that was somewhat similar that maybe we can kind of.
I think the thing that we can talk about around the property tax piece is that it goes back to the pilot show. Like, if you don't get out and vote, if you don't make decisions that are affecting your property tax, at the end of the day, we as electeds can't add something to someone's property tax, right? Like, everything goes to the ballot, and the community has the right to vote on it. What happens in the desk and in council meetings or school board meetings is the vote to move it to the ballot. But at the end of the day, if our community is not voting, then you're casting a vote. And then as a result, the consequence is, what we're experiencing today. But I would say at the end of the day, it's getting out to vote. And it's not just the school bonds, but it's over the course of the last 40 years, we've had a number of bonds and propositions that have been on the ballot that our community has voted for. And as a result of that, Compton has become one of the highest tax cities in California. But, we focus a lot on the school bonds, but I think overall it's 40 years worth of decisions that the community has made that, we're paying the consequences of.
And let me say this, though, because I want to play devil's advocate on this topic.
Absolutely.
We do or do not vote on some of these measures. Sometimes, though, these measures aren't always marketed and promoted for what's actually written on the bills. So a lot of people, I'll give an example of Measure P fund, right? Everyone's like, oh, this is supposed to go to the streets and the fire department. And it was probably promoted that way. But when you get into the verbiage of the bill or the measure, it kind of tells you that use this for multiple different things. So I think the same thing goes with the school bonds.
Absolutely.
Same thing goes with probably the water and sewer fund that bond that we've done. So yeah, I think it's having transparency on what these bonds are. Platforms like this where you can discuss what the bonds are, what the repercussions of that is. So I just playing devil's advocate on it to say,
oh no, I agree.
Not everybody's informed, and we're not informing everybody. Sometimes we tell them what we want them to know.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's why, like to your point, why this medium and so many other mediums are so important, that we're actually having ways of getting transparent conversations out that's not reflected by one's political office, but this is just the real, and all we can do on this show is share you the facts, and you make an informed decision based off the facts.
Yeah. Last question, which kind of ties into this one, is how did the trash or rubbish bill get on my property taxes? That was a vote of the council. And the new contract that we did with Republic, they wanted a 5-year contract. A part of that is that they wanted to put the rubbish bill on the property taxes. We talked about it. It was discussed over at the council meeting a couple of different times. We raised concerns. I raised some concerns about it at the time. It did pass 4-1 to go on our property taxes. So the thing about that is it doesn't change the cost of your trash.
Yeah.
Your trash is going to increase by 3% regardless. So it doesn't increase the cost. Yeah. What it does though, once it puts it on your property taxes, is if you don't pay your rubbish on your property taxes, you run the risk of losing your house. Yeah. So you could technically lose your house for not paying your trash. So that is like the downside to it. So I think it mostly affects senior citizens because they might be on fixed income. They might, realize, hey, I haven't paid my trash bill in 6 months, and it's not a big deal. It's the extra $20 in my bank. Yeah. I've been able to spend it, but now I got property taxes, and I'm getting hit with the whole bill. Yeah. And so I think for those people that it will probably be most, it's going to most affect. Yeah. But yeah, that's how it got on the tax bill, the tax roll. Yeah. So yeah, that's the community box, man. Appreciate the questions. If you guys want to submit any questions to the community box, please send those questions to stateofthecitypodcast@gmail.com, and we will read those as we get them. Yeah. Appreciate it.
What's going on, y'all? So we back from the break. Dre actually had to step out because he's interviewing the Compton Art and History Museum for the show. This is our community and business highlight. And so super excited about all the amazing things that the museum is doing. So check this out.
All right, man, Councilman Andre Spicer, City Council District 2, and I'm here with our very own business here, man. This is Mark Bird. This is the Compton Art and History Museum. Tell me about the Art and History Museum, Mark.
Man, the Compton Art History Museum is a special place. It's right here on Compton and Acacia, right there by the Popeyes. You can definitely get a haircut, get some soul food, and some dope art in the same parking lot. So it's really a special place to be in, and I'm very thankful for the community embracing it, in this place, because we needed a space within our community that also highlights it, preserves it, showcases it in a light that doesn't allow the media's portrayal to really dictate those things, because we want to take back our narratives and own our narratives in this community. And it all gave birth in 2022. God gave me a vision to actually build a museum in our city, because I took a group of students from Centennial High School to a known museum, and when we went, they didn't see a reflection of themselves in any of the art. And I was like, man, that's crazy. We got to go out of the community to then not even feel appreciated. I'm like, nah, we can't do that. So from there, I spoke to the board. I was like, yo, can we do something like this? He was like, we don't have the budget. We ain't got no funding. You crazy. And from there, I just continued to do the work. So from the flooring to the ceiling, I was able to actually install, even down to the curated museum exhibition walls. I built them myself alongside my uncle-in-law. And from there, you know, we just kept going, and we do have our certificate of occupancy. Love the city. You know what I'm saying? Be clear. Love the city. And yeah, man, we here. We in the city, man.
So Mark, like this is huge for our community, especially like from where I come from, man. I have a media background. We did radio. We've
I've been there.
We've been trying to change the narrative for so long, and for you to bring in an art history museum that reflects the art and tells our story. I understand how important that is, but why was that important to you?
Oh, you know what it is, man? I'm actually born and raised on the East Coast from Virginia, and I lived in New York City for a decade. But when I was living in New York, I lived in Harlem, and the streets are a reminder of who you are as black men. So you walking up and down Frederick Douglass, you walking up Adam Clayton Powell, you know what I'm saying? I'm hanging out at Marcus Garvey Park. So seeing those things, and then if you go to 135th and Lenox, we have a cultural center. It's called the Schomburg Research Center for Black Research. So for me, I'm like, yo, where's our black and brown research on the West Coast? It doesn't exist. So our whole thing was like, how do we continue to preserve our history and use that? And all of this really is navigating through Abigail Lopez Burke, who's my wife, my spouse, who's from Compton, born and raised in Dominguez on the east side. So for me, coming from the East Coast, again, being embraced by y'all and being accepted in this community to also like be able to contribute to all the rich history that you guys already have. Like we have someone like the Compton 125 Alliance who's been doing amazing work here for many years. You know what I'm saying? Like, love them. And from there, they've been preserving history for many years. But the thing is, where can we showcase? Where can we see these things? You know, without not. And again, it's nothing against any of it, but like different institutions that may then take our stuff and then be like, yo, how do we have access to it? You know what I mean? Like, we need some of these things here. So I'm excited for us to even have something like this that's community ran. And to get back, you know what I mean?
So now walking around here, man, you got some pretty dope artists. Can you name a couple artists that's featured in this exhibit?
Oh, for sure. Edson, Amazing, Willie. I know most people by first names, if that's cool with everybody. So Leah, you have Craney, I don't know if I mentioned her earlier, and seeing that two of the curators are from Yaelin Zamora, she's like 25, she's from Linwood, a neighboring city, and Angel Hernandez, who's 20 years old, is from Compton, right? He's a filmmaker, and he was like, y'all would love to curate, and we gave him an opportunity. And to see that, like, I think that's huge. And seeing, like, just senior citizens, as well as, like, the youth, like, children come through, my kids come in here to now look up. Like, we had someone, a young lady come in here, and she started crying. And she was like, you know, I experienced a lot in the city, and now I see it in a whole different light. That I can actually, you know, take my children somewhere, and for them to be like, oh, crap, like, I see that not only an artist, I can become that same artist. You know, that perspective of knowing, like, you know, you can be, you know, the biggest artist. Like someone that, he wasn't from Compton, but actually Anthony Lee Pittman, he graduated from Compton High. We opened up the museum with his work. And seeing that is like, yo, we could do anything. You know what I'm saying? Especially people from Compton. Y'all doing it, man. Like, I'm thinking to be a part of it.
Man, and we're glad you're here. It definitely makes a difference, and you brought a lot of experience, expertise to add to the culture. I mean, bro, Compton is a reflection of all urban communities. So if you've been in any urban community, bro, you've been in all of them, in a sense. Quick question now. How often do you guys change the museum? Like, I know you guys do different themes. You guys have a Kendrick theme coming up.
Yeah.
And some other things that you guys done. So how do you guys, how often you guys change the theme, and how do you choose the artists that are involved?
So we actually, currently with this exhibition, we have 20 artists. But I think every four months we actually swap it out. We actually swap out the exhibitions to give people a different experience every time they walk through the door. So one of them was on MLK, his local and global impact. We had another one called Scenes of Liberation, and we chose 5 Black women who were able to like showcase what freedom means to them during Juneteenth of last year. right? And all of these different exhibitions from 50 Years of Hip Hop, you came out, see the homie Damian Lowe, like he had some dope work in here. You know, some never before seen photos of Dr. Dre, because, you know, shameless plug, the homie did that, made that happen, right? So, like, seeing those type of things that, like, really highlight this city, because there's so much history. Like, right now, I'm curating something that's in 2028, and it's called the Compton Olympics, because the Olympics are coming here, right? So, Compton Olympics, you know, we're taking some photos of Jeff C. Robertson Park that's right next to the 91 freeway with the Olympic rings. Seeing those things and seeing all and highlighting all of the sports figures that have come out of Compton. So we got DeMar DeRozan. We have like some major like people who come out of Compton like that are putting on. So again, like it's amazing to see that. But every 4 months, and it all depends on the curator Meredith Lancaster and also our team. You know what I mean? That's like really trying to figure out, because again, we always got ideas. Oh, let's do this. But like really curating it properly and connecting with artists. So we have our newsletter, we'll reach out via social media, we'll DM you, any way to contact and connect with you. And it's the same way for you to connect with us. If you really want to be a part of one of our exhibitions or anything, like definitely reach out. And if it fits, like your work fits with something that we're doing, we will reach out. We really will. Yeah.
All right, lastly, man, first off, not last, not first off.
Okay.
Lastly, where's the location? When are you guys open? What's the business hours?
Okay, for sure. So we're free to the public from 10 to 3, Tuesday through Saturday. And also for the future of it, Compton Art and History Museum is located on Compton and Acacia, right? 306 West, Compton Boulevard, Compton, California, 90220, Suite 104. But also for the future of it, our whole thing is trying to build an actual cultural center, like here, like for Black and Brown research. Imagine like some of the greatest researchers in education coming to Compton to really figure out how we can also continue to preserve who we are as a people and research and give that data for us to be able to collect, so that way we can also nurture and see where the trajectory of where we're going as a community, right? So like all of those great things, like, you know, Dre said in his TED Talk, like, you know, imagine, you know what I'm saying? Like you had those stars in Compton, like when you're walking, the Walk of Fame. If you had the opportunity to go to Kendrick's Jazz Bar, all those things are so important because those things are possible. There's possibility in community. So having a place where we have a theater, an actual like center, so that way performance theater, you know, like we need those things. You can't, in the city of Compton, unfortunately, there's no real place outside of a pawn shop to purchase musical instruments. And we're known for music. So like having that access for the community members, I think is extremely important. So I'm looking forward to many things and many people and many great aspirations coming out of Compton.
All right, so we are at announcements, man. This is some of the community announcements, just things that you need to be up to date on, things that we're doing in the community. For me, I have a lot of after-school programs going on, which is something that we've been missing in the city. A lot of people have been asking for things for their kids to do during the summer. So I'm going to list a few things that we have. There's a lot. There's basketball programs, there's after-school programs, there's programs for that are inclusive for our special needs residents, and just a bunch of them. So check it out.
Yeah. And in addition to that, just make sure our kids are in somewhere safe for the summer, right? So you got after-school programs that Dre has shared. There's a lot of things happening in the community of Compton, but let's just make sure our kids have somewhere safe to be, with positive places, with food and access to resources, and making sure that we also are attacking that summer brain loss as well too, because a lot of our students, over the course of the summer, we see a summer learning loss. And so we have after school programs and summer programs that are addressing that summer loss. And so let's just make sure our students are up to date and ready to go into this next grade level. We also got enrollment happening in Compton Unified School District. So please do not wait till August to enroll your child in the school district, right? So if you need to enroll your child in the school, let's make sure you take advantage of it. It's happening all summer long. So I'll put up the resources as well so that you have access to know when those things are and when you can go over to Caldwell to make sure that you're up to date with all of your enrollment needs.
Dope, man. All right. Well, this is episode 1 in the books. I want to thank our special guest, Veronica Clancy Higgins, for coming through, talking to us about men's mental health.
Yes.
As well as the Compton Museum for being a part of the show as well. And shout out to all of our sponsors, man, Maximus Law and everyone else, man. This is episode 1. We will see y'all next week. Deuces.
Let's go.